Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope you all are doing well. Firstly, I'll welcome you all in our online classes. Today, we will be talking about the introduction of 20th century fiction and non-fiction. When we discuss about the subject that is 20th century fiction and non-fiction, the thing that clicks our mind is fiction and non-fiction. Now, while talking about fiction, fiction means something that is not true. The things that are fictitious in nature are basically untrue, imaginary, and the things that are not real, simply. And when we link it with 20th century, it means that the works that are up to dated and that are kind of modern in nature, while non-fiction refers to the things or that are based on facts and figures or events and that are realistic in nature or have some realistic approach. So let's talk about the definitions. Here, fiction refers to literature created from the imagination, something that involves mysteries, science fiction, romance, fantasy, chick literature. Chick literature refers to the genre that particularly, it's kind of an informal thing, and that particularly pleases the females, the young females. Such sort of literature is known as chick literature, while crime thrillers are all genres of fiction. So these sort of they are all, they come under the heading of fiction. While talking about non-fiction, non-fiction refers to literature which is based on facts and figures. It means that it has some sort of realistic approach. Fiction is something that is fabricated and it is based on the author's imagination. Means fiction refers to the fabricated mindset that is shown by the author's imagination. Means it is the mindset of the author. Short stories, novels, myths, legends, and fairy tales are all considered fiction, while settings, plot points, and characters in fiction are sometimes based on real life events or people. Writers use such things as jumping off points for their stories. It might be possible that in fiction, the events or that the characters or the incidents that occur are true, but they have been given a tinge of fiction. Means that they are true, but they are displayed in such a manner that they seem fictitious in nature. In the genre of science fiction and fantasy, books are placed in imaginary worlds, often take inspiration from the real world. A recent example of this is N.K. Jemisin's The Broken Earth Trilogy. Jemisin's the Broken Earth Trilogy. It's a work. It's her work in which she uses actual science and geological research to make her world believable. As you all have read the genre of science fiction and fantasy in the previous semester, so you people have a clear idea how the things work in science fiction and fantasy. Things are fictitious and they are fantasized. The way they are imagined, the way they are portrayed, it seems that as if they are real, but obviously they have some sort of imagination in them. Then there are certain techniques to write about fiction, and there are fiction often uses specific narrative techniques to heighten its impact. Means the techniques that are used in fiction are specific and they are used to heighten its impact. Salvatore says that some examples of these components are the use of rich evocative, the sensory detail means that evokes some things, that the sensory details, the different pacing tempos of dramatic and non-dramatic events, and at times the events are dramatized, otherwise they are not. The juxtaposition of summarized narrative and dramatized scenes. So at times the things are dramatized again, and sometimes they are just in the form of narration. The temporary delay and withholding of story information to heighten suspense and complicate plot, the use of different points of view. So there are, as we have already discussed, the point of view and the tree diagram of novel and all that stuff. So it refers to that particular point of view, means narrative perspective, including stark objective effacement. Effacement means to eliminate something. and the stylized use of language to narrate events and render human consciousness. So these are the techniques that are used, that at times the things are willingly or consciously dramatized just to create or heighten the suspense or to raise curiosity. Now let's talk about non-fiction and its details. Non-fiction, by contrast, is factual and reports on true events. As I have already told you, people, that it is based on facts and figures, and it has normally realistic approach. Histories, biographies, journalism, and essays are all considered non-fiction. Usually, non-fiction has a higher standard to uphold than fiction. A few smatterings of fact in a work of fiction does not make it true, while a few fabrications in a non-fiction work can force that story to lose all credibility. So in non-fiction, we study mostly the biographies that are real, and we have read that. Journalism and the essays, they are non-fiction, means they are based on the true facts and events. So, techniques to write non-fiction are refers to the use of literary craft. The techniques fiction writers, playwrights, and poets employ to present non-fiction, factually accurate prose about real people and events. In it, the details are mentioned in prose. It means that they are understandable and they are easy to digest as far as the capacity of comprehending or comprehension is concerned, in a compelling, vivid, dramatic manner. So the things are compelling, they are clear, and they are also dramatized at times. The goal is to make non-fiction stories read like fiction so that your readers are as enthralled by fact as they are by fantasy. So it means that the genre of fiction is linked with fantasy and imagination, while the genre of non-fiction is more linked with facts and figures, but they are at times dramatized in order to have the enthralling effect among the readers or the audience. So, the examples of classic fiction include How to Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, and 1984 by Orwell, and Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. While nonfiction refers to literature based on reality, it is the broadcast category of literature. The nonfiction has books and videos in many categories, including biographies, business, cooking, health, fitness, religion, all these things, humor, etc. They all come under the dimension of nonfiction. Here is a picture regarding fiction versus non-fiction. Um, so you can have it. You can have a clear view about it. So literature is based on fact, while fictional literature is based on imagination, and one is objective, the other one is subjective, and there is difference between fiction and non-fiction. Fiction is a made-up story, while non-fiction is something that is actual and something that is realistic. And I'll share these diagrams also with you. So I hope you have a clear point of view regarding fiction and non-fiction, and we will be discussing the subject in detail in our upcoming lectures. Thanks for listening, and if you guys have any ambiguity, I'll be there for you. Allah Hafiz.